Thanks, everybody, and welcome to my hometown of Ottawa. If you're visiting, it's not usually this warm outside, but you guys obviously brought a lot of that with you. You know, I think it's fair to say that everybody in this room has a very long history working in or watching Canadian television, but few of us have seen a year like the last one in terms of the degree of change in so many ways. And I was looking back at where we were this time last year in February 2010, and the list. The list was not stellar, obviously. Global television was at the time in bankruptcy protection. CTV had closed a lot of its A stations. Rogers had just laid off a lot of news employees at its city stations. And there was a lot of talk about the demise of conventional television. So here we are only 12 months later, and I think we're all agreed that things look considerably brighter than they did this time last year. Some of the major broadcasters are talking about hiring again, expanding some of their news coverage. It's probably fair to say that TV is far from dead. In fact, it seems to be starting to migrate over to some of the mobile platforms. So after a couple of very difficult years for many of our colleagues and many of the people in this room, there is stability now. The question is, how much willingness is there to innovate and embrace some of the future that we've heard talked about with Robert this morning. So let's see where the key decision makers sit on some of these issues, how they view the challenges ahead, and how they view the opportunities ahead as well. I probably don't need to introduce the people on the stage, but I will anyway, beginning with the dean of them, I suppose, John Riley, the president of Astral Television Networks and Astral Teleréseau. He is responsible for the operation of Astral's pay and pay-per-view services. Paul Robertson, the group vice president broadcasting and president of Shaw Media with responsibility for global television and a portfolio of 19 specialty channels. And Kirstine Stewart, executive vice president of English services at CBC with responsibility for all programming and all operations of CBC Television, CBC Radio, and CBC.ca. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it very much. And we will, by the way, have an opportunity for questions after. But I thought I'd kick it off by asking each of the panelists here to give us their report card on their own organizations, because it has been quite a tumultuous year for each of them. And give me a sense, if you can, and let's begin with John, I suppose, where you would give the last year an A for your organization and where the report card might say more effort was required.
Well, I will say this. I think if it's to give a report card, I think an A for us. You know, when I come to, obviously there's always work to be done. When I come to conferences and there are speakers, observers of the industry, such as Robert, usually I am scared by the time the end of the session is over that I maybe should think about another job in some other industry. In this case, Robert very well highlighted much of the change that's gone on. I'm happy to say from our standpoint that I think we're set up perfectly for the changes that have been happening and are going on. It in effect, I guess, endorses the strategy we've undertaken. I'll use the movie network usually as a proxy for most things, but in my view, we were online before online was cool. We launched our TMN online service back in '09. 5 years before that, we launched our service in SVOD format. We were acutely aware, and perhaps because we're a fully discretionary premium service. So nobody's coerced into taking our service. If they don't like our service, they can just get movies and shows in other places. So we've always been fully aware of where the trends are headed, that people will want to have access to programming on the device of their choice, on the platform of their choice. And we've taken steps to do that, as I said, with SVOD back in 2005 and 6, and then we launched our online version of our service in 2009, and this year, in this past year, the one on which I'm giving ourselves an A, we extended that online service to Rogers, Family, TMN, MPix, HBO Canada, Playhouse Disney. Those are all on online with Rogers, and also with Videotron. We launched all of our services, including all of our French language specialty services, with the Illico Web with Videotron. The next step for us is probably to look at mobility and see where we can where we can go there. So I think from our standpoint, we're very satisfied, and I think we're well positioned with the changes in consumer behavior, changes in technology, and couldn't we do more? Absolutely. We could make those services better. We can take them further. We can add more content, but we're there and we're satisfied with that.
All right, we'll be talking a lot about all those, but there's probably no representative on this panel that's absorbed more change in the last year than Paul Robertson at Shaw Media. I mean, Paul, and I should also mention we invited CTV and Rogers to join us as well, but they were unable to. Give us a sense of what your organization has been through in the last year, what you could have done better, what you did well.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Well, first of all, straight A's, that's pretty impressive, my friend. Well, thank you very much for that. You should talk to your guidance counselor. You might have some surprises in your next report.
Are you saying we marked ourselves too highly?
I don't know. I'll give you that one.
I wanted to say A+, but I thought I'd be humble and take an A. Well, first of all, what's the mark you're giving your organization and you?
It's my turn. That's it. So
I was just sitting here and taking them.
I don't know. Sorry, we're slowing up this whole thing now. Is what's happening.
You're killing time.
Thanks for the question, and yeah, it has been just a wonderfully exciting year. And what we set out to do, first of all, was come forward with a real positive belief in conventional television. And I think that in investing in the global television network like we did, where there didn't seem to be a lot of others that were as interested in it, and in putting the public benefits forward to support it, the morning news and the various things. But then just to say, you know, we believe in it, we believe in communities, we believe in local television. We think the whole, you know, save your local TV station so yesterday. And it seems like an awful long time ago that we were going cap in hand looking for a way to bail out TV stations. And I think that what we need to do for the benefit of the industry, for the benefit of our customers in the advertising side and the cable companies and all that, is believe that conventional television does have a terrific future. So I think that but the dialogue's changed, and we've been part of that, and we're proud to be part of that, and it'll continue to grow and develop. In terms of the organization, we set out to create a single integrated organization called Shaw Media. And it was, you know, that was more challenging than doing it on an island and creating a separate company. But we've really brought that together from a structural standpoint and been able to maintain the large majority of the terrific executives that were in the organization doing such a great job under CCAA. And we through it all, I mean, it's amazing, you know, the bankers were there trying to figure out how we're going to bankroll all these projects. And I think that, and I hope the people in this room would agree that the CanWest group over that time was still able to do tremendous programming with in partnership and get the bills paid and do all the things that were necessary to keep things rolling. So, you know, I think that we deserve some good credit for having come through a difficult situation, not just intact, but ready to roll, and with tremendous slate of Canadian content programming, both on global and the specialty channels.
You didn't give your mark.
I just, I'm shy. But
Great inflation. We don't want to talk about it. Kirstine?
Well, I think we can all agree that the last couple of years were pretty tumultuous. I think, you know, we ourselves went through layoffs of about 800 people just a couple of years ago, because just as much as the privates, you know, our funding is very much dependent on the revenue that we get in from advertising. And so that recession that everybody got hit with quite unexpectedly really did take a big chunk out of what it is we try to do. But I think what I'm proud of, I guess, going forward is that, you know, CBC was able in that time period to build an audience and build back a relationship again in terms of television with Canadians. We have a trust again with Canadians. They know that they can come to CBC television and actually have something that they enjoy and want to watch, whether it's, you know, the news side, whether it's an entertainment. You know, we actually built over that time when we were going through massive cuts and massive change. So I think, you know, in orienting ourselves towards content and the programming and understand that what it is we do is actually create an opportunity for Canadians to hear their own stories, it was a very good time in order to really focus on what mattered to us at CBC. And we followed the example of radio, that we could see that so much of what they've been able able to achieve over the last years was create really good relationships with their audience, because they were on the ground talking to people in their own cities and towns. So moving forward, I think we're well positioned with all the technology that's available to us, with all this great content and the partnerships we have with the producers to keep on this roll. And I think it's, I think I might not give us a letter grade for anything else, but the fact that we have E for effort, because we have a lot of people who tried really hard and it worked.
All right, so let's John, you brought up Robert Tursick's comments, which I think certainly resonated with the crowd here, but perhaps amplified in the Canadian context in some ways. And he had a lot to say about vertical integration, and the comment being that large media companies are traveling so fast, but looking in the rearview mirror primarily to preserve their existing business plan. Here's your chance for a response to some of the stuff that he said about that.
Well, first of all, I thought what Robert said was very insightful. He did a fantastic job. It was very informative. I think to some degree it is natural for people to wish to preserve what they have. The key is, as Robert pointed out, is not to be looking in the rearview mirror going at 100K forward. I said this just in the opening round, is I think we've done a good job of recognizing that, and I think we've done a good job of taking those steps forward to make sure that we stay connected with subscribers. We are nothing without subscribers. We are fortunate, at least from my unit's perspective, we don't have advertising. So we didn't get whipsawed as much as the others at all from that aspect. In fact, our subscribers have grown during the last couple of years, and they've grown in light of increased competition. And I think that speaks well to the enhancements that we've provided to the service. I think we can take it a step further, looking at some of the aspects. I thought the chart that Robert showed with the list of coercive architecture, and the cooperative, is that we're firmly placed in doing a good job, I think, on many of those things, on demand, online, those kinds of things, and all of that distilled down to a sense of loyalty. You have to have loyalty with the subscribers.
I think one of the things that struck me, though, is that we're living in an era where technology is allowing, and we saw that very specifically, the idea of content to be created in exponential numbers, right? So we have this incredible flowering of content, and yet in Canada, at least, we seem to be having the opposite effect in the institutions that we relied on previously to share that content and pay us for it. And there's been a consolidation at a time when the technology seems to be blowing things apart. I'd be interested in asking you, how does your organization plan to grab some of that content and make it possible for people to access vertical organizations that are increasingly powerful and large?
Well, a lot of the content that is the subject of some of the new technology is not content we would necessarily grab in any event. In other words, for us, it's not our business about putting personal videos up in internet space. For us, grabbing content is important, though. So, for example, in the movie network, again, I use as a proxy, we get early windows on programming, whether it's Hollywood programming. We license Canadian programming to the tune of $37 million last year on the movie network. So our job is to get attractive, valuable, dramatic programming. That's what we specialize in, and to make sure that they have it. In terms of in a vertically integrated environment, many refer to us as, in some ways, as the last independent standing. My view is, and the view of our organization is, we support a strong and vibrant Canadian broadcasting system. So we support transactions and decisions that will enhance that organization, and that just a few key principles have to be in place in that kind of integration. Guaranteed access, for example, diversity of voices, and that consumers have the choice to get programming when and where they want. So,
Paul, I'm just going to hold this for a second because I feel like I'm back in the news business. Apparently there's been a small fire outside of the room, so if you're smelling smoke, do not be concerned.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
It's been extinguished, and we are all safe and sound. Back to our regular programming.
Very well.
Is that,
so,
is that someone trying to burn that wall
yeah,
garden?
I don't know.
I thought some people would put out cigars or something.
Yeah.